First of all, big thanks to all the organizers here. Thanks. It's an awesome event. Thanks for the invite. I hope it's going to be worth your time. What I'm going to talk about is the way we work in our company, how we build products. Why? Because I believe it's not just another way to do that. I believe we have built something in terms of an environment and culture that is unique, and I'm hoping two things will happen here. Some of you might take one or two small inspirations with you that you want to apply in your workplace. Not one-to-one what we are doing here, because it's not going to work in your place. But maybe some ideas that I say, well, how could that translate into my business? And take it away. And I'm also looking very much forward to the questions and answers later, because I do hope I get some challenging questions and maybe also some ideas how we can improve what we already have. So, that's me. 45, born in Berlin, live in Berlin, have lived most of my time in Berlin. Spent a couple of years in England. That was quite nice. Married, 2 kids waiting at home for me. And I've seen mostly software products and projects from very, very different angles. So I started out as a Scrum Master. Okay, yeah, thank you. I started out as a software developer, have been project manager, technical lead, department manager, head of Scrum Masters, CDO, consultant, seen all of that a bit, and it gave me some tremendous insights. I am master of no trade, but jack of all, so to say. Yeah? So there's nothing I can really do very, very well, but I have a bit of everything there, and that is sometimes very interesting. Yeah? So that's me. I'm working for here. Who of you has heard about here? Oh, there are a few, that's great. Awesome. So what are we doing? Basically, we do Google Maps and then we don't. Because A, we do it a lot better, and B, we do it a lot different. Here used to be Navteq and many other companies, and used to belong to Nokia for quite a while. And we have been sold to a consortium of Volkswagen, Daimler, and BMW just end of last year, because they're very interested in the stuff that we are doing. Here you see one of our cars going around, and what they capture is very high definition 3D maps of any road. And this is data that is super important for autonomous driving. Yeah, so you have these cars with all the sensors, and that gives them short sight, which is important, yeah, in the actual current situation. But the far sight, yeah, so where are you going? How is the traffic situation? How is the road? How is it bending? Where are there obstacles? All this, we know that. Yeah? So we know pretty much everything about not only roads and maps, but also traffic. There are 5,000 people worldwide working to assembling the data and building great products on top of that. 4 or 5 cars use our map data for their built-in navigation systems. That's us. One of the bigger offices is in Berlin. 1,000 people, more than 60 nationalities, very, very colorful place. So the department I work with, and this is important to give you some background what we are actually doing. We build for your mobile phone and your computer the websites of here. What is it? It's in-car navigation, walking navigation. It will be bike navigation very soon. It's already in the beta, and other transport modes, but it also gives you all the public transport options in your area. And you can download the maps and use them offline, so you don't need the data plan. So when you go on your next holiday, try us out, or try us right now. Yeah? So there are offline maps in 156 countries. Turn-by-turn guidance and all this stuff. Yeah? So it's worth trying, we believe. Yeah. So we have Drive, Walk, Transit, yeah? For iOS, for Android, and for, last but not least, also the web. Here you see our local transport, public transport in our vicinity. Good. And of course, very colorful company in the heart of Berlin. We are always looking for people to join us. You wouldn't be the first Ukrainians or Russians or otherwise. We have them all. My team, I have Ricardo from Portugal, I have Anton from Omsk, and I have Chris from Florida. This is my team, yeah? And myself from Berlin. So, we are building consumer products. So, stuff for you, and you, and you. And here's the big challenge. Who the heck is writing that backlog? Yeah. So, when you have a project, when you have a customer, very often they come and tell you what they want you to build. Our consumers don't. Yeah. So, who is going to build it? A very usual approach is the Hippo approach. Has any one of you heard about the Hippo approach? It is the highest paid person's opinion. Right. Yeah? So it is your whoever big head. Then there are the better cases where you have a product owner like in good old Scrum. Yeah? So, but there's still one person who is supposed to have all that great ideas. And we found it is a difficult problem. It is a difficult way to do that. It doesn't work very well. And we found ourselves a year and a half ago in a situation where we did not have any product owners anymore. Wow. And we had teams that said that we know our product so well, we don't need one. We don't need one to give us a backlog. We can do that ourselves. And this is where we decided to say, okay, let's try something very, very new. Let's rely on teams to build awesome products. A year and a half later, we have a product out there that has better store ratings, or at least at par with our main competitor, Google, and is 4.5, 4.6, with a growing user base. So something seems to work there. Let's rely on teams. And then we set out and said, okay, like Magellan, in the olden days, he set out, and he didn't know where he was going. Yeah? So he had a good plan that he would go out and find something, but he didn't know exactly where he was going. So we called the whole ways of working that we were starting to develop at the time, Magellan. And we were trying to build an environment where teams can thrive and build great product. What does this involve? First of all, motivated teams. Daniel Pink to the rescue. Most of you, hopefully all of you, have seen that YouTube video of Daniel Pink. So what it is all about is about autonomy. So teams that can work as autonomous as possible. They can master what they are doing, and they have a purpose. We have heard about the purpose earlier. So here are some goals of that approach that we were trying to build at the time. So here's the first element. We didn't give our teams a backlog anymore. We asked our teams to follow an objective. So initially we gave them 4 months and a good-sized team and said, look, we want you to solve a problem for us, a business problem, a user problem, and this is key results. This is how we are going to figure out whether you have improved or solved the problem, yes or no. Here's some examples. Increase the stickiness of the product for new users. So when your users come to our product, we want them to come back, of course. Yeah? The whole offering is for free. We want you to come back anyway, because there are other ways to make small money out of this eventually. But it will be for free, always, promised. Yeah? So how do we know that our users actually do come back? We just measure the retention. After 1 day, after 7 days, after 30 days, what percentage of users come back? And we give you, well, I'm not to disclose that goal, but we give you a certain number that we believe is achievable but challenging. And now go out and find ways to do that as a team. Here another example. Yeah? Onboard a partner, BlaBlaCar, it's share riding, ride sharing. Bring our users, offer that, bring it in, and try to make some money. Yeah? This is all our teams got in 4 months' time to fix it. And a set of principles. We have heard earlier, and I believe that is very true. You have to have some guidance when you have that freedom and some constraints. Here they are. This product is owned by the team. As we don't have a product owner anymore, someone has to own it. It's you. It is that team. You get a time box. Yeah? So you get a certain investment that we are willing to invest to see whether we can fix or solve that problem, yes or no. You as a team self-organize. We do not care how you work, whether you use Scrum, Kanban, any mixture of that, or anything else, waterfall, whatever you want. You decide that, but at any one time, you must be able to tell us where you are and where you are heading as a team. We don't specify, we don't give you the backlog, but we review what you're doing. So tell us what you're planning. We might give you some hints, how that happens, I explain later, but we will not stop you doing it. But come back with proof whether it's good, yes or no. So you have a 4 months time frame. You don't leave stuff half finished, because your next fellow team might pick up that code. So you better leave it in a state as you would expect it to be at the end. You have an end-to-end ownership, so it isn't writing software. It is rolling out product to our end users and verifying that it is actually a successful rollout. What we practically do here is we build a new feature, we give it to a very small percentage of our users and measure data-wise whether the intended behavior, we can see that yes or no, known as A/B testing. So some of our users will see different version. Nowadays, it's awesome. This is easily done even on mobile devices. And then based on the data, we decide whether we have to tweak that feature, whether we scrap it or we roll it out. And then step by step, we roll it out to up to 100% of our users. And only then, it is done. And everyone on a team is an innovator. Yeah? So don't rely on that non-existing product owner anymore to tell you what to do. You all have to figure it out as a team together. So 8 principles. These principles stood from the very start, so a year and a half ago, and they haven't changed. How we do that has changed tremendously. We're going to see some of that later. So here we have our team in the middle. We had an ISO certification for the whole process, and we're going to have another one. So the whole process, as crazy as it sounds, is ISO 9000 certified. And we had the auditor threatened to file one non-conformancy because our org chart had the director at the top, and he said, you should have the teams at the top and the director at the bottom, because that's what you're doing. Interesting. Yeah? So here's our self-organized team at the center. And here's like the boundaries they work within. You see the leadership behind them supporting. Yeah? So we make sure there's the budget and resources required. You have the training, the coaching, the knowledge. You have clear rules and boundaries to work within. They can all be negotiated at any time. Yeah? If we find there's a boundary that has helped us in the past, but now it is hindering us, then we're going to change it. But only together with the management, the small management team. Management removes obstacles for you, and the management takes care of, like, we are a big company, there's just one department of that sign of that happens elsewhere. You make sure that you collaborate, and you make sure you can always tell us about your progress in terms of product improvement. So your own backlog, there's a backlog done by the team. It changes dramatically from sprint to sprint as we learn, but it is there. There's always a plan. And we align towards the product vision. And that's it. Yeah? So these are the boundaries to work within. And then we set out to build an environment that helps to self-organize our teams. Here are some examples of that. Yeah? So one cornerstone, obviously, is self-organization. Here's how it all starts. So we have a set of missions. Let's say about 6. And we have, this is no small department. We have roughly 100 people for our mission teams. And what we've done in the past, several times very successful, we defined a very small set of constraints that said, well, all the projects need to be able to be successful. And our portfolio management was like, we have these 6 missions, and this is the investment over the next 4 months that we want to take. There are 5 developers here, 3 developers here, 7 here, 5 here, 9 here, plus 2 QA here, 3 QA there, and a product manager, and a designer, and here and that. Yeah? So all the people that we have, we distributed in numbers. Cool. We distributed in numbers to our projects, but we didn't assign names and people. Because why should we know best as a management team how to do that? Instead, we prepared these flip charts here to the right that had placeholders for 1 QA, 1 Android. You see that here. Yeah? So it's like mixed. And then we herded everyone into a big, big room and asked them who would like to work on what mission. And they could put their own names and could put themselves up for the mission they were most interested in, under the constraints that every seat could be only taken by 1 person. So they had to negotiate. If they found, okay, the mission I wanted to go on, it's already full, you had all the names. They had a conversation, say, could you move and go to the other mission this time and I do this because these are my reasons? And they were free to do that. So 100 people, how long do you think that took? 15 minutes. Because these are very clever people, just trust them. And the teams we built were very balanced. It wasn't like friend with friend with friend. They had a good eye on make sure all the missions can be successful. So there was a good mixture of junior and senior and this and that and other skills. Probably much better than we could ever come up with from a leadership team, and then it definitely would have taken at least 2 days, these discussions. Good. So this is how we formed our teams. We do it slightly different now, but with the same principle. Everyone has a choice which mission they want to go to, which purpose they want to follow this time, with who they want to work. This is our floor. So these are the team areas that we have available. So now we could assign every team like, no. We put the plan up and said, figure it out. That took another 15 minutes to figure out which team wants to sit where. And they considered some things that we would never had considered, like which teams will collaborate more because they share more code base. From a leadership team, that is hardly visible. These are experts. They know that exactly. So they found ways where teams that collaborated more were co-located, something that is very, very difficult to think of by individuals. And they own this. It's theirs. Yeah? So there's also, with that freedom comes responsibility, and our teams know that. Room for self-organization. One of our task boards. It's paper. As much as possible, it is always paper. If you're interested to hear more about that, join my workshop later, because it's very much about paper. Why paper? Because paper is interactive. Yeah? So there's hardly any real estate on any of our walls that is not used to share information and collaborate. This is the standard daily. Yeah? Most of you have that. This is a backlog rooming. Look, several people working at the same time, not the audience looking at the Jira that is projected by someone consuming what one person does. They collaborate, they work together, they have conversations. And more examples. Here, ideas for the research week. Every now and then we have a week where our teams get the opportunity, usually between missions, get the opportunity to do their own things for a week and present what they've done. Awesome stuff. So is that time wasted? No, it's time well invested, because we had quite a few very interesting product ideas coming out of that. Story maps, etc. Yeah. So this is pretty much a tour around our floor as much as possible that I was trying to give you like some ideas what we're doing here. So one big cornerstone of this to work is build an environment where teams can self-organize, where they actually can self-organize actively. The next is transparency. So we have these 6 missions out there. How do they know? How do we know what they are doing? How do they know what everyone else is doing? So within the teams, they figure it out. But now you have this scaling effect. Yeah? So I said over 100 people. So that's interesting too. Here's one example of a dashboard that we have out on tellies, cheap tellies, on the floors, within team areas, in kitchens, etc. We bought 15 cheap tellies from Amazon and equipped them with a Raspberry Pi, which is an awesome client for any like web-based tool. And the teams use them for build monitors, bug counts, as well as for business information. As I said, we do this A/B test, so we bring a new version of our product out to a small percentage of users. So we have graphs on these screens that compare how does the test group and how does the new group, how do they perform, how do they compare. So that is visible to every team member at any one time. Here we see that we made another 200,000 monthly active users, so users that come back within 30 days on the iOS platform and Android. It's a bit older, but this is very visible. We have like 10 different business dashboards and the A/B test and technical stuff. Again, what we did is we put the screens there and the Raspberry Pis there and gave the login to the teams to make whatever is useful for them. And they all turned out different. And then one team looked at, what are they? Okay, that's cool. We do the same. They built awesome dashboards there. We didn't build the dashboards for them. They own it. It's their tools. Here we have our mission board. Yeah? So another big wall, about the size of like the right corner over there. Here we have on the story level what all the teams, all the mission teams are planning to do, are currently doing, have an A/B test, or are rolling out or have rolled out. And once a week, that's being updated. So one team member per team comes and they have a conversation and see what everyone else's plan is and share what their plan is. And this actually triggers conversations between the teams where they say, like, oh, you do something that might actually influence what we are doing. Or we do something that might be helpful for you. Or we could share this. Yeah? So it's just a trigger to have this conversation and see what's going on elsewhere. And also a great overview for our communications teams to go out, because they know exactly this is happening on the product portfolio for us. So there is no report or anything. There is, again, a wall that is always visible to everyone to see what is currently happening. Reporting back to the leadership team. Well, we said, well, we don't specify, we review. So what we ask our teams to do on a weekly basis is to see what have they done last week, what do they plan next week, 2 bullet point lists, very short. What is in their way, what are their obstacles, what are they currently testing with our users, where do they need help with? So it's like the letter to the leadership team. We saw the picture, we're at the back moving. And in my role, I'm a bit of both. So I support one team as a Scrum Master, but I'm also part of the leadership team, so I see both sides. It's very interesting to see. And you have the opportunity, so the whole Thursday afternoon from the leadership team, from the whole leadership team is always reserved for mission reviews. So the team can ask for a slot. So our bicycle guys, they said, well, this week we would like to talk to you, and they get half an hour attention of the whole leadership team to come up with their current questions that they have, or support requests, or anything. So they can use that half hour for anything that they deem important. Not go through the report. They have written that beforehand, and we have read it, so that we actually can dedicate that half hour to the important bits. And here we see there's quite an interest. It isn't a leadership team saying, like, you come in this order. The teams have put this up because they have an interest to do that. So this is how we see what's happening from a leadership perspective, other than walking the floor. We heard this this morning in the keynote. I don't have a desk. I use whatever desk is free because someone is on vacation or not there otherwise. So I sit in the middle of teams. The same is true for the development or for the product head off. You find them anywhere and everywhere. We have a magnetic seat plan, and we just put our name where we currently are. Simple to do. Again, self-organization environment. This is probably the funniest example of tools built for ourselves. It is our presentation box. So here's our challenge. We have, and this is another form of sharing, we have the CE demos, consumer experiences, this is our department demo, every 4 weeks, where all teams show to each other hands-on what they've built in the last 4 weeks. So we have the update weekly where we move stickies, but we also see hands-on what's happening. And it was always very difficult and fiddly to put adapters to iPhones, to Android phones, back to the computer EDC. So in this box, someone came up with the idea to put an Apple TV in, a Google TV router, and a switch. Now we have a remote control. We connect this once, and all the telephones can go through that box. It is just one example for builds, for tools built for themselves. So our teams own their tools if they need them. Is this all cool? Is it always great? No, it isn't. But what's good about it is we keep learning. Yeah? Is it rocket science? It is new, it is different, but it isn't perfect, and we have to admit the leadership team are not rocket scientists. So we keep asking our teams, how can we improve this for you so that you can work? There are some elements. Here, at the end of the mission, we do a post-mortem for each mission, whether successful or unsuccessful in both cases, to learn what are success factors and what are failure factors. We have mission retros. So we have the team retros every 2 weeks, usually anyway, but we also have mission retros where we try to learn and understand within the mission frame what works well and what needs improvement. So here's an example of a pretty good mission. So all the KPIs went up. Funny enough, the KPIs and the objective were not so aligned as they should be, and we were not quite sure whether we actually have driven retention. Okay, learning for next time. But it can also end like this. We have to admit any of these missions is pretty much like a startup. So we are trying to do some things, improve them here. In any case, we are the root cause analysis. Here is the fishbone, the Ishikawa approach to do that. So we try to learn what are the factors, the estimation, measurements, definition, KPIs. And we asked the teams, we asked the leadership team, we asked different groups to give us an assessment what they think is working well and is not working so great. And then that feeds into the next round. So we started with Magellan. The current round we have called Magellan X. And the next is going out to the Magellan Nebula. So this is what it currently looks like. We found, for instance, that focus and mission teams are very difficult. I will need 2 minutes more. Focus on missions was very difficult because the missions also had to take care of loads of day-to-day stuff. Fixing some of those bugs that creeped in from libraries that we have used. Getting the releases going. All sorts of things. That was difficult, and also we had these fixed lengths. It was always 4 months, and that made some things also difficult. So we came up with the idea to have a launch pad to launch missions, start them out, have them return. On the launch pad, there is a crew, a ground staff crew, that takes care of the day-to-day business and keeps that away from the missions. And we have a rotation through that launch pad. So people from the launch pad, when new arrivals, so a new mission comes in, they can prepare to run the next round. So a bit more flexibility. It's more like, so we keep learning and we keep adapting this. This is a 4th iteration, and every one of those have changed. So here's our launchpad, again, very data-driven. How is the pipeline? What are the bugs? etc. Interesting. So this is how we do product development. But this is a project management conference here. What does it have to do with you? Quite a bit, actually, because there are a few items. So project is nothing different to product. When you have a project, you build a product for someone. And here are some things that you might want to take or might not want to take home. Motivated teams are at the core. If you want to be successful, you need to have a team that really buys into what you're trying to do. And to motivate, you need something that's challenging, that is doable, but it's challenging. It's not boring. So executing a backlog is actually boring. So you better try to understand the problems your customers have and come up with awesome solutions and surprise your customer. Because then you build a relationship with that customer that will be very, very long and very, very positive and fruitful, because they will trust you more and they will actually try to explain what their problems are rather than ask you to build X and Y solution. To do that, you need a very, very intimate insight into what your users do, your end users in your customer's organization. There are technical tools out there to observe that for consumer products that you also can use for customer products, given you have the buy-in from your customer. But also just go there and observe with your team how this product is being used. So, thank you. This is now time for questions and answers. Before we go into that, one answer I can't give the outcome of tomorrow's game, but I have donned my Ukraine shoes today. I might wear a different t-shirt tomorrow back in Berlin.
Hi, Frank.
Any questions? Mm-hmm.
Thank you for a great presentation. First of all, I'm an avid user of Here Maps. Really great product. I prefer it compared to Google Maps when I travel abroad, especially for your offline mode. So my question is, how did you as an organization come to this approach? Was it inspired by a new CEO or leadership, or maybe you had some agile coaches from the outside?
Well, we have a director, Patrick Weissert, who is really a very, very agile guy. And we had a problem. We didn't have any product owners anymore because, like, for different reasons, they left. Patrick went to Facebook to see how they worked. So we had a partnership at the time with them. We still have, and just to understand and see how they worked. And that gave us also some inspiration. And we thought, okay. So we don't want to do the same thing, but how could we do something similar at our place. And this all started it. I came in as an agile coach, looking at a organization that had Scrum mastered very well. And I wasn't quite sure why they needed me. And then a couple of weeks later, they came up with, look, this is what we are trying to do. Can you help? This is how it started out, November in 2014.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you very much for the presentation. I have pure management question, and it's basically related to your own XP. Back to the start of your presentation when you told that product owners are gone and you now had to face the new innovative approaches ahead and had to, of course, motivate the team, start something new. So I believe you had some plan B in case, I don't know, some third-party events will ruin the innovative, your innovative approaches. You will go on. So how you explained to the team what will happen if something go wrong? If you explained, of course, maybe you hide it in your own. Thank you.
To be honest, yes, we always have a plan B. We don't share it with the team. We don't share it with the team because A, we believe in plan A, and plan B is a backup, and it is not the better, it's the worse option. And we don't want our teams to not feel the sense of urgency to make this work because they know there's a plan B.
I guess
but then the plan B would have been to go back to standard Scrum, which isn't bad. Yeah?
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hello? Oh, so loud. My name is Mike. Maybe I missed something, but I would like to ask you one thing. As I understood, all your system of self-organization team is based on that all of the team members in one place. And how you gonna collaborate with the remote team members?
I didn't mention that here, but good that you bring it up. We do have team members in different places in Poland, as well as in Tallinn. And there are different ways for the teams to do that, to keep them in sync. The teams have to figure that out. They have agile coaches to help with. So some of our teams use actually Jira for their task board. Others just send a photo. So we use Slack as a collaboration tool, and we send a high HD photo of the task board to a team member. We bring them into the daily via Skype, and they explain to us which cards we should move for them. That works actually very well if you have very few team members out there. And otherwise, there's always chat channels. There's always one-to-one conversations going, video conferences ad hoc, etc. So that is very much part of our ways of working. Also, we try to make that as easy as possible. So it's only a click of a button away. But you have to be aware it is always harder. So you can't make it work as good as. We travel a lot. So it's all places where you can travel, it's where it's not too difficult, but that is basically what we do there. When it then comes to, so it is the same time zone, it's a very similar culture, but there is a distance in terms of geographical distance. When you have, in addition, different cultures and different time zones, that makes it a lot harder.